Hey gaming fans, so today's another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and this one is for the Edison format. This is a format that I just actually started looking into. I've done decks on GOAT format, which is, I like it because I get to play the older cards, a lot of the cards that have been banned for almost ever. And, I was really, running out of ideas for newer kind of decks for GOAT, and I started looking up other formats, and I found the Edison format. This is a pretty cool format. It was one of the times where I really enjoyed playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It was before, I believe, the XE's monsters were out, so it was kind of at the peak of the Synchro era. And a lot of the big decks were kind of like, cut down by the ban list. From what I read, the Edison format, it wasn't very long. There was only one Shonen Jump tournament. So there's a lot of versatility and a lot of areas for deck improvements and just new deck ideas. So anyways, I thought I would start off, because I'm just getting new into this format, let's go with the old Lightsworn. Now this deck kind of got neutered, if you want to call it that. Like they cut down a lot of cards that were allowed to in the Lightsworn deck, which made it broken. But I still think the deck could actually kind of run smoothly, and I'm kind of familiar with it. So I thought I'd start off my first Edison deck with Lightsworn. So anyways, I looked at some of the builds, and I kind of came up with my own, sort of. So this is 3 Raikos. This is definitely needed in this. A lot of people fear this card in this format. Obviously, it destroys any card on the field, and it mills the top 3 cards of your deck into the grave, which is what you want to do with Lightsworn. So definitely a 3 of. Unfortunately, there's only 1 Lumina in this format. This was a key card in the deck, but there's only 1, so you got to live with it. So once per turn, you discard a card, then target 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So pretty cool card, and it's 3 cards off the top of the deck at the end of turn. I decided to go with 2 Aaron Lightsworn Monk. I've always liked this card. Pretty much, she attacks a defense position monster. Instead of sending it to the graveyard, you shuffle it into the deck, so you don't get any Mystic Tomato effects off, or, a flip effect you'll get, but things that activate when it hits the graveyard, you're not going to get those effects. And the other thing that is, if she attacks, like, say, a Stardust Dragon, or something really, really big that would never go into the graveyard, it'll just send it right to the deck. So no matter how big it is, before damage calculation. And I threw in some cards to kind of help her effect get off. And then I put in 2 Lila. This is a card that kind of goes up and down in a lot of people's decks. I think I remember playing 3 of this one when I used to play in this format a long time ago. I always like Lila. I just like the fact that, she's kind of like a breaker. You summon her, and then you can destroy a spell or a trap. And at the end of your turn, you get to mill 3 cards. So again, it goes with the format. And, you need a lot of the Lightsworns into the graveyard. So I put 1 Jane. Jane's okay. It's a, 1800 beat stick, and he could beef himself up when he attacks. He gets an extra 300 bonus. But unfortunately, only 2 cards get milled from this one, but that's okay. And then we have 1 Gareth. I always like having a Gareth in the Lightsworn decks. Just if you get his effect off, it's pretty good. Pretty much each time a Lightsworn monster mills cards at the end of the end phase. I think it's whenever it mills. I can't remember. Basically, whenever it mills cards, you send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Then draw 1 card for each Lightsworn you've just milled with this guy. So pretty cool. I mean, you could hit 2 cards with this guy. You can draw 2 cards, so it's possible. Another card that kind of goes up and down with me is Wolf, and how many Wolf you should play. I went with a 3 for this build. I think I'm pretty confident it's okay. It's always a shame when you draw this guy, but you can always discard him with certain card effects, certain spells. But Wolf is definitely something, when it triggers, it creates a big problem for your opponent, because you end up with these 2100 beat sticks on the board. Now this format too is that there, it doesn't have a lot of the, destroy all cards, win on 1 turn type of decks. It's not like the current format where your opponent just builds up this big board and you can't get over it. So these cards are a little bit easier to, maneuver. Then we got Celestia. I got 1 in here. I've seen other builds they play 2 and 3. The thing I don't like is she is a tribute monster, and you have to tribute a Lightsworn if you want to get the effect off, which is to send 4 cards from your deck to the graveyard to target up to 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. So, I mean, good card if you got a wolf on the field or something. But you just don't want to be holding on to too many dead cards in your hand. And of course, the boss monster, 2 Judgment Dragon. So this format only allows for 2 Judgment Dragons. Like I said in the beginning there, they kind of neutered this this deck. It used to have 3 Judgment Dragons, but I even remember that back in the day when people didn't always run 3 Judgment Dragons. Again, kind of like Wolf, they might end up cloggy in your hand in the early game, and if you don't get the 4 different Lightsworns in the graveyard to summon them, you're kind of messed. I mean, you're screwed. You're going to lose. Then I just threw in one of this Arcturus Lightsworn Druid. This was a card I was debating on because he is weak and he can screw you over sometimes, because Lightsworn monsters everywhere cannot be targeted by spells, traps, or effect cards. So you gotta be careful with your own spells and stuff, like that you can't actually target your own Lightsworns, but neither can your opponent. And that's the good thing, is you get this guy out and your Lightsworns are kind of safe from, you know, targeting effects. And he does mill 2 cards, so I kind of left him in. And of course, 2 Honest. Again, this was a 3 of back in the day before this format, and then they brought it down to 2. So it was semi-limited in this format, so max out on it to play the 2 copies of Honest, because that's always the big fear when you're playing against Lightsworn, is does your opponent have an Honest in their hand? This is a format that was before all these popular hand traps came out, so Honest was probably one of the first few, if not the first hand trap that people really were scared about. And then for some non-Lightsworns, we got Necrogardna, just because he hits the graveyard through milling, and then you can, you know, stop 1 attack. Plague Spreader Zombie, just so we can get some synchros going on in here. If he gets milled to the graveyard, you just put a card from your hand on top of your deck, and then you special summon him from the graveyard, and then you got your level 2 tuner. And the other good thing is you could put your, say, your wolf from your hand on top of your deck and then mill him that turn. So pretty good. Armageddon Knight I threw in here because I thought there was a few good targets like the Necrogardna and the Plague Spreader, but also he can send the wolf to the graveyard, which I believe will trigger its effect to special summon it because it's being sent from the deck to the graveyard. So either way. And then I put in 1 Summoner Monk because I thought, you know, well, it's limited to 1 anyways, but just so you could pull out your Armageddon Knight or anything else if you need a Lila, or I believe it could even special summon a wolf, because the wolf just can't be normal summoned. So I believe you can actually special summon a wolf with this if you wanted to. Of course, if you're trying to get your Judgment Dragon materials in the graveyard, you can grab whichever Lightsworn you need, so that could work too. 1 Charge of the Light Brigade, again, only 1, unfortunately, but this deck was really busted. I remember when back in the day when people could play 3. It was just so annoying. They always opened with it. They always got their cards set up. I mean, this deck was just brutal when it was at full power. Today, obviously, in the modern meta, this deck is not as powerful as it was, but in this format, it's pretty powerful. 3 Solar Recharge. Obviously, luckily they left that at 3. This is the core spell of the deck. This is what gets things going. You get to discard if you have a wolf in your hand or whatever. You just discard it, draw 2 cards, and then you get to mill 2 cards. This is one of those cards I say is really perfect for, you know, the design of this card to fit with the theme of the deck. I think they did a really good job on this card. I wish they made more styles of cards like this. Gold Sark, you know, I debated on this one. I saw some people were playing the 2. I like it in the early game when you can draw it. You can get that Judgment Dragon out of your deck. So in the next turn, or what, 2 turns, I guess you get it to your hand. It's just a terrible card late game. You top deck this, it's garbage. So, you know, I just kind of put it to 1. Monster Reincarnation, because you do end up with a lot of monsters in your graveyard. You get to discard a card from your hand to grab one of your monsters from your graveyard to your hand. So that could be your Judgment Dragons that get milled, or whatever you might need at the time. Foolish Burial, again, get some Lightsworns into the graveyard. I believe also this works with Wolf. You can throw a Wolf into the graveyard and special summon them. You know, you could do a lot of tricks. You can get your 4th Lightsworn monster in the grave to special summon your Judgment Dragon. So lots of good tricks with Foolish. Also to throw your Plague Spreader and or your Necrogardna if you really need it. I put in 2 enemy controllers because I'm playing the Aaron Lightsworn monk person that can, this one that attacks a defense position monster and then shuffles it into the graveyard, or sorry, into the deck. So, you know, you got your enemy controllers, so no matter what big boss your opponent has face up on the field, if it's in attack mode, you shift it to a defense, and then you can attack with your Aaron. And then the same thing with Book of Moon. Also, and these cards are great for defense too, to save your little guys or to just save your neck for one more turn. Cold Wave, because, you know, if you can shut down all your opponent's face down cards before you summon your Judgment Dragon, then that would actually be beneficial. Then we got Heavy Storm, MST, just some basic cards there. Call It a Haunted, and Judgment Dragon, Solemn Judgment. Those are the ones I just kind of threw in there. Then we have to have our synchro deck, so I threw in some you know, basic ones like Armory Arm, Alley of Justice, Cataster, Magical Android, Bryonic, Gaia, the Fierce Knight. Really, you don't need that. Goyo Guardian, you get to use his old printing, so it doesn't require an Earth, so that's pretty good. Black Rose Dragon, Stardust Dragon, Thought Ruler Archfiend, and Colossal. I mean, this is, I'm going to work on this. This is obviously my first draft of it, and there's a lot more cards I'm going to probably pop in and out, but this is my first build of this deck anyways. So let me know what you think. I think the Edison format's pretty cool. If you don't know what it is, check it out. There's a whole website on it, and you can learn all about it. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.